You're not good at storytelling, and this could be why. You don't have the right story structure. Without the right structure holding up your story, it's gonna fall flat. Think about the structure of a building for a minute. It's not really something that you think about, except when it's not very good. And that's when you start to question it. You feel it, you can sense it, and if it's really bad, you can see it. But when the structure of a building is solid, it goes unnoticed, and you simply just enjoy the building. Now, the same is true with story. When it has a solid structure, no one ever thinks about it. But when it's weak or missing pieces, you start to feel that something is off. Or maybe now that you're a story expert, you can name what's off about it. So what makes a good story structure? Having the full 3 acts. Let's break it down, but with business owners in mind. Act 1 is the opening. You set the scene, and this is where you get your audience's attention with a hook, and you introduce your main character. You want your audience to be able to relate to your main character and become invested in them. So the first act ends as you present the problem that your main character faces. This problem is what sets up the second act. So for businesses, Act 1 will start off with your hook. Now, this could be a bold statement, a thoughtful question, or maybe a visual that makes someone want to keep watching to see what happens. Then you introduce your main character. This will be the main person driving the story. It could be an employee or customer or even you. For this example, let's go with a customer. They will share a little bit about themselves, who they are, what they do, and maybe even a little bit of how they are connected to your brand. You want the audience to relate to them so that they keep paying attention. What details do they need to know about your customer in order to do this? Finally, you will end with a problem. Now, your customer will share the problem that they faced, and if this is for your business, ideally, the problem that they present will also be the problem solved by your product or service. Once you've laid out their problem, you're ready to move on to Act 2. Act 2 is all about overcoming the problem in Act 1. It's really hard to read for someone who gets it right on the first try, so don't be afraid to show the struggle that your client faced. Really paint a picture here of what life was like before your product or service came in to save the day. Did they try any other solutions, or did they just try to fix it themselves? Or maybe they just kept struggling. Let it build until they've reached their breaking point that led them to you, which will be the start of Act 3. Now, Act 3 begins with a climax that leads into the resolution, or your customers happily ever after with you. What happened that finally made your customer give you a try? This will be your climax. As soon as you name it, your resolution begins. Your resolution is simply your product or service and how it solved the problem. But don't stop there. End your story with how much better life is now. Contrast the before picture that you painted in Act 2 by painting the after picture now. While your viewer related to the before in Act 2, they will now get excited and desire the after that you're creating in Act 3, which, you guessed it, will lead them to take action, just like the customer in your story, and try out your product or service. And that's all you need to tell a story with a good structure. Act 1, a hook, the introduction of your main character and a problem that they have. Act 2, failed solutions to that problem and how life was negatively impacted. In Act 3, the climax of that problem, the solution that worked, and how life is better now. When you have a solid story structure, people won't get distracted or confused. They will be on the edge of their seats, giving you their full attention. If you want to create better video content for your business, then be sure to check out our channel where we make all things video made simple for entrepreneurs.